Welcome to the Rangers Rabble live match reaction to Rangers versus Hibernian. I don't know what I'm doing here. My name is Scott Kennedy. I'm joined with Scott Young, who's just kicked his dad out the bottom bunk, and Ross. he's going to be cracking all the jokes from here on in. How you doing, gents?
Yeah, have a good mate. Cheers for having us on.
Great, mate. Great.
Yeah,
good. Things.
Good. Yeah, good. Jump into recent events from other days. Touched on the intro there. Very sad news. His Royal Highness Duke of Edinburgh sadly passed away. So naturally, condolences to the Queen and the royal family. Not to dwell on that or make light of it. But moving on to today, Hibernian was always going to be a tough game. No real shocks in the lineup. However, I think Scott Wright was probably unlucky not to start. Ross, what do you make of that?
I said it in the group chat when the team lines came out, mate. I would have maybe had Scott Wright in there. I think Roof will benefit from the season finishing and getting a right good pre-season in him again. I think he comes back, does a couple of games. He's either got the first touch in Angel or the first touch in Elephant. I don't understand. Sometimes he's always chasing his touch. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes that's how he gets injured as well, overstretching for trying to make up for bad touches. So, that's what I've got for you.
Thanks for that. It sounds like he's got a touch of a Kenny Miller, but yeah. What about you, Scotty boy? What do you think of the starting lineup?
I thought it's probably the strongest lineup we could have handed. I think probably I would have started Wright in hindsight because I don't think Roof had his best game. But going off last week, obviously Wright played well, but Roof scored twice. And you can't drop a guy after he scored twice. If a striker's finishing and scoring, then you play him whenever you can. So I think Roof was probably the right choice, but in hindsight, I would have started Wright.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Also, a little bit surprised that Wright didn't come on at all. Mm-hmm. Obviously, when you've got a squad as strong as we've got, that you want all the players to get minutes, but it's not always possible. So, moving on to the game, I think it's fair to say the first 15 minutes was a bit slow. I will add at this point that I missed the first 10 minutes. So please enlighten me if anything happened that I might have missed. I don't know. We've had a few issues with Rangers TV, and RTV Steve, who was supposed to come on today, was that raging that he didn't see any of the game, that he felt he couldn't come on. So this is the best way I can take the mickey out of him.
No, it was really quiet, wasn't it? Feeling each other out and trying to find out how our team were going to line up. I actually thought we got a passing and a pressing game gone early the day, which made a change. I feel as if maybe before the international break we'd maybe been taking a wee while to taking a warm up into games, but early on we looked as if we were ready to go again with a point to prove ahead of next week.
Yeah, it's encouraging to see, wasn't it, Scott? But I think when you come against, let's face it, a quality Hibs side who are off the ball, quite disciplined, and they do like to track our runners. It was always going to be not necessarily cagey, but a tough start.
Yeah, as most games are against most teams in this league. Most teams will sit 10 men behind the ball and look to break on us. And again, Hibs were the same, but just Hibs have got better players than most of the teams in the league. So naturally, they're going to make it more difficult. So, yeah, first 15, 20 minutes, I thought it was quite slow. But then we had most of the territory and most of the possession. And we looked like the more dangerous side.
Yeah, as always, get your comments in. If anyone else out there had trouble with RTV, please let me know. I'm going to draft an email and get a petition to get Rangers to change it back to the old format because I'm really annoyed. Anyway, so we got to about the 20 minute mark, and I think it's in between 15 20 minutes, and it took almost a moment where we had to have a catalyst, a spark to actually get us going. And I thought Kent actually provided that. He took the ball on, he drove inside, and he had a shot, which was actually quite a powerful shot just to go past the post. I think from that point, we had a good spell of about 10 minutes. And then quickly after, Roof had a disallowed goal. It was a great driving play by Davis. And again, just touching on Hibs, who were tracking all the runners, but they leave the guy with the ball, so that allowed Davis to move on. Ross, I don't think it's much of a contentious decision to say it's offside, but slightly frustrating that Roof wasn't disciplined enough to hold his line. I'd probably take that away.
I thought watching it at the time, Roof was actually behind the ball when the ball had been hit, but when you seen it the second time, he is marginally offside. I think it's one of the ones that Roof's running in his momentum. You expect Morelos, he's probably expecting Morelos to cut it back across the goal line, score himself. I don't really think Roof was worrying about the offside, but as you say, it sparked off a wee kind of reaction in us. Right after it, you had the header saved, and then it leads to the goal. So that kind of offside, I felt, livened us up. As you say, Davis just came in and dropped the shoulder, and then he's away right through their team. So, in that kind of 5-minute spell, we kind of put our foot on the gas, and it showed why we are the best team in the country. Do you know what I mean? The other teams won't live with us when we've got our foot on the gas like that.
Exactly. I think we work in periods of play. We can keep the ball, and then when we need to step it up, drop the foot off the gas, and then always keeping something in the tank. And as you say, we move on to the Roof header after the disallowed goal. Really unlucky. Great ball by Barisic. Straight onto the header Roof. Great save. But what was really impressive, Scott, is the way that we recycled the ball, kept the ball in play, and ultimately ended up with a great goal by Aribo.
Yeah, as you said, just kept going and going and going. You know, most teams would miss a great chance at that. Maybe head would go down, but we kept the ball alive as best we could, and a great finish from Aribo to put us deservedly 1-0 at that time.
Yeah, and then what I noticed at that point is Roof really likes to get stuck in. He's not scared of a challenge. He loves the physical side of it, and I think that part of his game really, really suits Scottish football. Scott, what did you actually make of his performance over probably the first 45 minutes? Because although it was quite consistent over the piece, I think it's fair to say that perhaps there's a couple of players that were slightly off it today, and I'd probably say, although he never shirked away, Roof might have been one of them.
Yeah, I don't think Roof had his best game. I still don't think he's 100% match fit, because obviously he has had a lot of niggly injuries this season. He hasn't really played a lot since Antwerp first leg, because that's when he went off injured. So I don't think he's 100% fit. And as I said in talk about the lineups, I probably would have started Scott Wright in hindsight, because I think Scott Wright has shown more to deserve a start than Roof. And even today, I don't think Roof had his best game. And next week, which I'm sure we'll get on to, I wouldn't start Roof. I'd probably start Wright next week.
Yeah, Barry tends to agree with you, and to be honest, I don't blame him. I actually really like Wright. I think if he had a bigger transfer fee and a more extravagant game, everyone I think would be climbing to get him in the team. The game actually petered out after the goal, probably predictably, because we kept the ball, we recycled the ball well. But then it came to a worrying period after about the 35-minute mark where Hibs actually grew into the game and had quite a few chances, and probably sparked by, I know it sounds strange, but Martin Boyle having a bit of a dive when he was getting into the penalty area. He's getting a bit of a reputation for that. He's a decent player. I don't see the need to do it. Why do players do that, Ross? I don't get it.
I think it's the averages in it. There's been a lot of talk recently about the fact that Rangers have not had any penalties against them, and I think they just saw an opportunity to go down. At first I thought he'd stumbled, but when you seen it from behind the goal side, you see him actually straightening his left leg out to make sure he makes contact with Goldson. So it's a definite dive. At first I thought it was just a coming together, but no, it was a definite dive. I don't know why players do it, but what you're saying there is some folk it seems to stick with him as a reputation, and other folk it seems to be, he's just fell over again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I definitely think that particular player's coming into the bracket of he does that more often than not.
Well, I don't want to talk about opposition players too much, but there's a guy that always seems to impress me. He's always dangerous, and I'll put it to the both of you. What you make of Nesbitt? Because for me, he reminds me a little bit of Nacho Novo. He's very persistent. He's got that bit of technical ability, and his shooting's pretty good. I like him, and we're talking about him before we get on to the Hibs goal later in the game. Scott, is that a player that do you think potentially could, if we're asking the question, do a job for us?
I do like Nisbet. I thought I quite like the Championship. Quite watch it whenever I can. And I watched him play for Dunfermline last season, and he was a player. I always thought he was better than Shanklin, to be honest. But I don't think I'd sign him now. But I definitely look at him if Morelos or Defoe doesn't renew his contract, or don't like Ruffin and can go. So if Morelos or Defoe aren't with us, leave at the end of the season, I'd definitely look at Nisbet. But I wouldn't sign him now because I don't think we need 5 strikers.
Ross?
I like him, mate. I said that in the group chat during the game. He's somebody who...
Listen, what happens in the group chat stays in the group chat. especially with some of your comments.
Yeah. No, for me, if Defoe stays on next year as a sort of player coach, I think I would bring Nisbet in, have him as your kind of fourth striker, and Defoe then becomes your kind of utility man. You just use whenever, and bringing a young guy in like that who's got pace, who's got endeavour, who's got an eye for goal. You see the difference in Morelos' play and the positions he takes up after working with Defoe. I reckon if we bring in one of the better young Scottish boys who are people from our league, who know the league, who can live with the physicality of the league, I reckon that they would do well for us to learn from the likes of Jermaine Defoe while he's still there.
I suppose it helps that he is a Rangers fan as well, isn't he?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know, but I think so.
I think I heard that.
Rings a bell, that, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was a disappointing end to the first half. Hibs did actually have a couple of chances. I think Ball had a chance, Nisbet had a couple of chances, and Hamden probably should have scored from a header from a corner that, well, eventually, I think it wasn't actually a corner. I think we heard McGregor not being too happy about that. But then, on reflection of the first half, I think there was actually a couple of below par. Look, Scott, I don't want to see what's under your bunk bed.
No, it keeps going up. I'm trying to fix it. What am I doing?
Ross, contain yourself. Disappointed end to the first half, I thought. And I thought a couple of players were below par, despite an energetic start. I think there was a couple of players that shone. I think Nathan Patterson was absolutely outstanding in the first half and all game. We'll talk about him later. I want to bring up Borna Barisic. I've got to bring it up. I've said a couple of times before, I don't think he does enough to stop crosses. There comes a point sooner or later, and we had it with Tav, where we're saying what the contribution you bring going forward can't always outweigh your defensive frailties. And for me, we've got to have a conversation. At some point, we've actually got to sit down and have a proper conversation about Barisic. Ross, am I overreacting here?
He was poor again today. He's been poor a few games, but I look at it as he's probably cost us. As he cost us a goal today, potentially the ball coming out, then the fixing his sock rather than getting back into position, and just wee things like that. But at the other end, they should have set up a goal with a cross onto the head. So he's one of the players who's going to give you something going forward every game, but there's going to... I don't know how it's crept into his game because he looks solid, but it seems to me now as if he's got that maybe... I'm not even saying it's a mentality thing, a sort of... I don't need to worry about the defensive stuff because the rest of the defence are playing so well, if that makes sense. There was a couple of chances that showed you at half-time and Barisic wasn't even in the picture. You know what I mean? He's that far ahead.
Yeah, perhaps it is a bit critical. And because the rest of the defence looks so good, Scott, anything that comes into the box, you're looking to blame something. Whereas before we were looking at, it wasn't about the ball coming into the box. It might have been, well, we should have been winning that header in the box. But, the sooner you can snuff out a chance, the better. Do you think Barisic has been a bit complacent? He is quality.
Yeah, the thing with Barisic is, especially going off the defending side, I think he needs a bit of help from the midfield. Because when he's one-on-one with one of the best wingers in the league in Martin Boyle, he's looking for a bit of help. I don't know who's on the left-hand side. I think it's Kamara. So I think I don't know if it's a tactical thing, but Barisic and Kamara should be doubling up on Martin Boyle. I think we should have seen that at half. I think maybe they should have said that at half time. Obviously, Barisic is the prime defender on the left hand side, obviously playing left back, but I do think he needs a helping hand, especially with someone like a Martin Boyle.
I suppose.
Sorry, Scotty. I think a lot of that comes down to the fact, see, when Ryan Jack plays in the position in the three, he's got that drifts left or drifts right to help. Whereas I don't think when Aribo plays in the midfield three, we've got that defensive cover or somebody who's got that defensive nous to push Davis or Kamara across one so that he can. Do you know what I'm talking about? I think that's where we struggle. And see, today I don't even think really it was more a 4-2-3-1. I would say, with Aribo sitting in behind the strikers as playing in the midfield three. If you know what I mean, it was more a 2 sitting and 3 going. But even at that, you're still losing out on that defensive cover that Jack gives you. We really miss him.
Aye, we need to sign a Jack replacement in the summer. A Jack cover, not a replacement. Yeah, or get fit. That's also an option. But I do think we need another DM in the summer.
Yeah, I think the conversation, without bringing too much attention to Hibs, and they did look dangerous. I don't think, and I actually think the reaction would be a negative one if we turn around and said, right, okay, well, we're going to focus and we're going to double up on a Martin Boyle. I think for me, I would rather we take our chances and let him go 1v1 with Barisic. I just think sometimes Barisic can be a bit quicker, be a bit more aggressive, and be switched on a bit more, perhaps just a little bit complacent. I don't see the need in having someone to double up on Martin Boyle because that takes a player out of our shape. I think good enough to cope with that. I just think sometimes we should. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
I'm not talking about.
Move on. Right.
I think the difference in Jack plays is we're no doubling up. It means Barisic can push forward into the sort of left wing position, and Jack will fill in at left back, or he'll fill in at right back, or he'll shunt Kamara across to. Do you know what I'm talking about? As opposed to actually Barisic and Jack doubling up on people.
You're just reading Andy's comments, that's all.
I'm Andy. I'm sitting there.
Obviously, we've got quite a few fans of Ryan Jack and Glenn Kamara in the comments. Keep the comments coming in because I've run out of things to talk about and this is going to be very, very quiet. I'm also waiting for Ross to step in with some jokes because he's a very, very funny guy in the group chat, but he gets a bit nervous in front of the screen. Isn't that right, Scotty boy? Anyway, right, on to the second half. There's no changes. I thought we started a little bit slow again, tentatively keeping the ball to be expected. But then the game kind of kicked to life a bit when Goldson headed over the bar. And it's always that, man, I really hate him. Ryan Porteous. Why does he have to get involved? And he's got that smug face. Oh, why? Why does he have to get involved, Scotty boy?
He's got such a punchable face, doesn't he?
All right, less of that. Less of that. Don't mention it. Infer it.
Yeah, but I'm a line here. Exactly. I don't understand with Porteous. I think Porteous isn't an awful defender, but yeah, obviously get called up for Scotland. Must be doing something right, but he's just, I don't know. He's just, is stupid the right word? I don't know. In terms of a few things he does, the odd game. He's a good player. He just needs to cut out stupid things, and he'll be a better player.
Yeah, he's made a career at kicking Rangers players. That's essentially what he's made a career. If you ask anybody, name me 3 things Ryan Porteous has done, it'll be booting Morelos, and then the day kicking Connor Goldson, and then falling over and kidding on he was hurt. It's an accidental coming together. You could say, right, he stepped on Golson's toe, but why is he then down rolling about as if he's hurt? I don't understand it.
No. Anyway, as disappointing as that was, there's a couple of moments, and I was really impressed with Nathan Patterson again today. I thought his energy for 90 minutes was outstanding. I've got a text alert. I've got the tweet notifications for Rangers. And apparently, Nathan Patterson had a shot over the bar. Can someone talk me through that? Because my Rangers TV cut out Was it a close
it was
shot?
down the I think it was Kent went running down the right and he got to the byline, cut it back, and Patterson he tried to wrap his foot and go like far corner, but it wasn't much of a chance, more of a half chance because he kind of just skied it. It wasn't close, but it was a decent opportunity. I think it was 2-0 or 2-1.
It was 1-0.
Was it 1-0? Aye.
Yeah.
It was a half decent. It was a half chance mainly, but yeah, it was a good work from Kent down the line, cut it back from the byline, and then Patterson just tried to wrap his foot around it, but it went over.
Then Ross, it brings us on to Ryan Kent. What a goal! Again, I actually missed that and I saw the replay, but it was a good goal nonetheless.
Ryan Kent is God to me. Honestly, I just think, see again today, like his ability to go inside or outside, he's playing predominantly left of the front three, but the amount of the last couple of goals he scored, the goal against St Mirren, he's actually cutting in for the right. It must be a nightmare to try and mark. It's that natural ability just to drop the shoulder. We've got a few players that have got it. Hadji's got it. Kamara's got it. It's just in Scottish football, you've got these big defenders that want to come in and try and crunch into tackles and bomb in. And if you've got a player that can drop a shoulder and go by them, and he's striking right foot and left foot's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But he's another player who maybe took. I know he was here on loan, but last year folks said they flattered to deceive for the 7 million or whatever we paid for him. But you're seeing now, and in Europe, he's a great signing and a great player, and he wants to be here as well. Do you know what I mean? He fought to be here. That's the thing I like the most about him. Do you know what I mean? He really fought to get to Rangers.
Andy, you're wrong.
I'm not Andy. I am not Andy anymore.
Absolutely spot on. And I think he actually sparked the game into life. He actually took control. As I said, in the 17th minute, he took control. He put from the left, drove inside, had a shot. It was unlucky. It was a great shot. But then, when he's pulled in from the right this time, and he's come in, and it was his left foot, wasn't it? I'm not talking about my backside. Left foot into the bottom right, keeper's bottom right corner. And we've seen it a couple of times, and he's been close. But I'm going to say it, next season's going to be his season. I think that's when it's all going to click and come together. And we're going to really, really appreciate and enjoy Ryan Kent. He plays a lot of football. He doesn't miss many games, and that is invaluable to Rangers. What do you think, Scott? I mean, there's always going to be a question as well. Do we get to keep these players?
Yeah, obviously, I think most of the players. I think most of the players now are looking at the fact we can get to the Champions League next season, and I don't think any of the players we've got now would be able to go anywhere and play Champions League football. And Champions League football is any player's dream to play, and I think most of the players will realise what we've got here and stick around. And obviously, just touching on Kent, I thought he was terrific today. Probably one of our not our best player, but one of our better players today was Kent. And yeah, just terrific goal. We've seen it do numerous times. Go against St Mirren, and then the one against Aberdeen when we beat them 4-0, which is spring to mind in terms of that cutting in, finishing. Best. I think he's probably the best winger in the league, Ryan Kent. I don't think there's many that touch him.
Yeah, well, it's close to. He's definitely one of the most naturally talented left foot, right foot. I wish Hadji had his turn of pace as well, and then we'd have 2 absolutely incredible players. In fact, you can add Roof to that, but that's probably why they're playing for Rangers, and that's absolutely no disrespect to them. So we go 2-0 up. We give the game about 10 minutes, and then we make a couple of changes. What did you make of how we actually reacted to going 2-0 up? Because I was really expecting us to put the foot to the throttle and really, go for a couple more. I mean, it's never going to be easy against the Hibs side, but Ross, I think we just we were content after that.
I was a bit surprised when he made his sub and took off Duff and left Roof on. In hindsight, he's probably trying to get minutes into Roof's legs in order to, as we said earlier on, he's probably no match fit. But at 2-0 against the Hibs team, who are always going to be dangerous, thought it was maybe no the time to take off the guy who holds the play up for you. You know what I mean, and brings others in. And but I thought I seen somebody writing that in the comments. I think sometimes Gerrard gets his tactics spot on, and his substitutes are a bit barmy sometimes. But as long as we're getting results, I suppose his substitutes are working. Do you know what I mean? That's how I'm sitting in the house, and that's how he's sitting in the Rangers dugout.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. I do find you incredibly insightful. This, so carry on. No more to say. Right. Right, Nesbitt scores. I thought it was a great goal. I can say that because we won 2-1. What do you make of it, Scott?
Yeah, I thought it was a good header. It was a good ball in. But as we said, with Barisic, he's a left back. Ball coming in from the left, he's nowhere to be seen. He should be pushing out there. And I think Goldson get caught under it, and Nesbitt just got the run on him. But yeah, I thought, obviously it was a good header, and then it was nervy last 10-15 minutes. But I thought we sought out quite well. Then they didn't really have a lot of chances, the odd corner. But apart from that, there wasn't really much they had in the way of chances. I thought we had better chances at 2-1 than they did. No,
yeah, I think you're actually right. I think the game actually petered out. I think they huffed and puffed a little bit, but after that, we just saw the game out, and we've done that time and time again all the way through the season. That's why we've picked up so many wins. We haven't dropped many points. We've conceded 11 goals all season. What's that? Number 3 at home. Yeah. It's absolutely incredible. We don't actually look in that danger. When you go 2-0 up with that defensive record, you're always expecting to see the game out. I've actually made a note. For a change, when I was hosting, I actually made notes, and I put 87th minute, 5,000 fouls by Hibs and no card. Why is that? Why do I always pick up on that? And I don't think Don Robertson, it was Don Robertson, wasn't it? Had a particularly bad game. But there just seems to be a level of leniency that just really frustrates me. I can't be the only one, Ross.
I think Gerrard speaks about it quite a lot, about protecting players. Do you know what I mean? And you speak about people like Porteous, and there's some professional fouls that happen. Barisic got booked for one, out on the left hand side at that kind of halfway line. The other players seem to get booked for that, and then somebody can put 2 horrible tackles in and get 2 warnings. Do you know what I mean? And it's no. I don't just say that as a kind of Rangers fan with his conspiracy hat on. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel as if the better players in the league don't seem to get as protected for persistent fouling, whereas the likes of that, as I say, one person, it's a professional foul and it's probably worth a booking for Barisic because of he's stopping an attack. But at the same time, the same guy booting Kent or booting Hadji or booting Aribo 3 times is also a booking. It seems to be like over the totting up stuff. The kind of totting up way of refereeing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to end the game there. A couple of takeaways from the game. I don't think Barisic had a particularly good game. Is that something to worry about when you need to worry about next week?
Like, nah, it's an old firm game, Scottish Cup. He should be up for it. I think he's not had a bad Old Firm game. I don't think Barisic. He's very good at the game in the 2-0 game. The 1-0 game, I thought he was okay, and then the last game he didn't really put a foot wrong. I think should be up for it. All of our players should give that extra 10% next week, since the Scottish Cup is the aim, and also it's against biggest rivals. So I think next week, I think Barisic should be fine.
Yeah. Ross, what would you take away from today's game?
It's another workman-like performance, isn't it? It's a decent defensive display, which is what we've done all season. Midfield controlled it. What I would take away from it is maybe Roof not taking his chance. We've kind of spoke before about how in this team, the third in the midfield 3 and the right-hand side of the front 3 is the kind of only 2 positions that you would say are negotiable when you're picking your best side. Roof got the nod today. People are talking about right. I think Gerrard will go with Hadji next week on the right of the front 3. She seems to like Hadji against Celtic. So for me, the day this takeaway is that Roof, until Roof's match fit, we're going to have to we're going to have to bleed him back in gently because he's not performing at the level we know he's capable of.
Yeah, I tend to agree that. I think it's the end of the season coming too soon for Roof. Do we just? I think he needs more than a couple of games to get going. Sadly enough, would you start him next week?
No,
I wouldn't start him either.
I
think Ross hit the nail on the head. I'd start Hadji or Wright. I think probably Wright's better come on with his pace, and I'd think Hadji's probably a better man to start, especially next week. I'd start Hadji, Kent, Morelos as my front three next week.
And
personally, I would start Wright personally because I think Laxalt up against Wright's pace and the fact Wright can cut in when I feel as if Hadji can float centrally, whereas if you've got Wright and Kent switching constantly, I think their fullbacks are really weak, and we could get some benefit for that.
I'd say that Hadji changed the game at New Year though, because mine first half they dominated us, and then Hadji came on. We slowly grew into the game, and we eventually won it. So I think Hadji is probably. I wouldn't be against starting Wright, but going off the December Old Firm game or January New Year Old Firm game, I'd probably start Hadji just.
Do you think it could be a Walter Smith curveball? I don't want to turn this into the Celtic preview pod, by the way, but it could be a Walter Smith curveball. Definitely sticking right in. Scott, you told me just before we went on, Balogun's out of the Old Firm as well. Tav might be back. I want to talk about Nathan Patterson. I thought, again, he was superb today. I've said it a couple of times already. Scott, you sticking with Patterson or would you bring Tav back in?
I think it depends on how fit Tav is. If you can, because you meet 100% against Celtic, because last time we had Balogun at right back and they tore him a new one. So I'd rather a fully fit right back at right back. And if Tav is fully fit, I'd play Tav. But Patterson, I think it'd be unfair to drop Patterson if Tav isn't fully fit. So obviously if you want Old Firm Scottish Cup game, biggest game of the season, you want your captain and one of your best players playing at max. It is maximum. So if Tav is fit, I'd play Tav, obviously. But if he's not 100% fit, I wouldn't be against Patterson at right back.
I would say because Tav's been defensively can switch off. See if he's no match sharp. For me, I'd say Patterson's is not put a foot wrong. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I've not got any worries at all about Patterson playing next week. I think he will play next week. And who knows? Maybe your prediction will come true and Tav will play as the 8 in the midfield or up on the right side of the forward 3.
Do you know, it's really interesting you should say that because my man Andy, not you.
It is me. I set myself up for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we're all well off seeing that come to fruition. Yeah. Listen, gents, I'm gonna just final word on the game, man of the match, and then we're gonna call it quits. Scott,
my man of the match is probably Patterson. And right. I thought, to be fair, I thought Davis had one of his poorer games I've seen from him in a while. A lot of loose passes. There was one in the second half he could have easily shot. He tried playing Kent and played out for a shy. That springs to mind straight away. But overall, man of the match is Nathan Patterson.
Ryan Kent. I thought Ryan Kent was man of the match. I know Hollander got it from the match sponsors. But I would have said Patterson and Kent were the two kind of live wires. As you say, Scott Kamara and Davis maybe a bit quiet. Aribo good in stages, but to be honest, I think a few of the players this week had eyes on next week. I thought, yeah. Looking at it, do you know what I mean? Don't do anything to make a mistake and lose your place for next week. That kind of mentality.
Speaking of the Whitfield, I don't know where this came from on the Hibs post match, but someone thought they'd want to drop in Lewis Ferguson. Anyone got any comments on that?
He's not better than what we've got.
I wouldn't
say he's an upgrade in anything we've got.
Yeah. I watched him yesterday. Obviously, I was watching Xander, and the amount of fouls he gives away in this league, Lewis Ferguson, he would get sent off for us every single game he plays.
Yeah, I would say probably just touching on Lewis Ferguson and Aberdeen in general, just going back to sort of 8 DM role, I think one of the biggest regrets we'll have is letting Ross McCrory go. If we need to re-sign a quality DM, I think I like Ross McCrory. I think he was at the time I thought it was a good decision loaning him out, but probably in hindsight I'd have probably kept him. I know that's probably just touching on. Someone mentioned Lewis Ferguson there.
Yep, fair shout. Anyway, thanks, gents. Thanks for joining me. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Sunday afternoon if you've got a roast or something planned. But have a good one, and I'll see you maybe next week for the old firm.
Cheers.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers.
Cheers, lads.